Hi, welcome to Live United. My name is Karen Knapp, President, CEO, United Way of St. Lucie County. Our campaign is just about over. Our volunteers are busy, or have been busy, reviewing grants, and soon it will be time for the Board of Directors of United Way to make the final decision on where the money donated this year will be used. And the goal of United Way, our mission, is to improve lives by mobilizing the caring power of our community. So all the agencies we fund work to improve lives in specific areas that United Way has specifically pointed out, and we have developed indicators, and our agencies, the agencies that are more than willing to take United Way funds, have addressed, and we are very excited to go into this new year looking at all the wonderful programs and services that will be provided to the citizens of St. Lucie County because of the donations to United Way. And today we're going to talk to someone who has been a United Way funded partner for a long time, and her name is Sarah Rui. Welcome, Sarah. You know, the American Red Cross has been a big part of our communities, I'm going to say, for many, many, many years. Let's talk about a little bit of the history and the mission of the American Red Cross.
So yes, we are celebrating our centennial this year in St. Lucie County. 100 years ago, in 1917 was when it was chartered in St. Lucie County, the American Red Cross, the local Red Cross. The American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by empowering the mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of our donors. So what does that mean? We basically respond to all disasters, from a house fire to a tornado to a hurricane. We also prepare the community so that they are better prepared and maybe won't suffer as much when there is one of those emergencies. And we also do service to the armed forces. So we still work with the armed forces to make sure that the emergency communications that might have to happen between military personnel and their families happen in a timely and effective manner.
So your mission is vital. Boy, we're always very impressed with the American Red Cross and what you're doing and how you partner with other local agencies who work to also help prepare, but you guys are, you know, the agency.
Well, we meet that immediate need. So we're there when that house burns down. We're there within 2 hours of getting the call, and we're there to make sure that those people have some place to go for the next 3 days, have clothing, have food, have medical needs met, if that kind of stuff. And then we work with them as caseworkers to work with the other agencies like United Way, like Mustard Seed, Salvation Army, that will work with them to help them resume their normal living and get back to their normal standard of living.
Let's talk about some of those programs that you offer. You mentioned a few. Maybe we can go into a little more detail on the program.
Sure. So our disaster response program is what we have our disaster action teams. We have volunteers who are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The fire department, when there is a home fire, the fire department will say to the residents, do you need Red Cross assistance? So we don't go to every fire that happens. We only go when the fire department determines there's a need for us. What happens is their dispatcher calls our dispatcher, and then our dispatcher calls who's ever on call, and it's volunteers that get up. They get out of bed, because most of the time the fires happen at night, and they go in teams of a minimum of 2, and they go to the scene if the clients are still at the scene, or they may meet them at another place depending on what the scene is. We work with them. As I said, we give them assistance card with some funds loaded on it that are accessible immediately, so that they can go to a hotel, or they can buy new clothes, or they can get a meal. Oftentimes people get out of a house with only whatever they were wearing at the time of the fire. And we also have stuffed animals that we give to the kids, or Mickey Mouse, or teddy bears, and we have blankets in case they're out there and it's cold, and comfort kits, which are basically toiletries and hairbrushes, toothbrushes, and things that they can use right away. And the other thing that we have that people have really been impressed with is some very special smoke soap. So if their house is not a total loss, but their clothes are smoky, we can give them that soap and they add it to their regular detergent, and it actually does take the smell out. So.
That's a very needed service, and when you're looking at the victims of a fire, that's devastating, and to have the Red Cross there is, of course, such a blessing. And you work very well with law enforcement, our local law enforcement.
Sure.
On the average, how many house fires do we experience here in St. Lucie County?
So we experience about one a week in St. Lucie County, which doesn't seem like a lot unless you're that person whose house burns
seems
down.
like a lot to me.
Right. You know, our chapter covers 4 counties, but St. Lucie is by far the largest, and we average about 2 a week. And I would say one of those a week is usually here in St. Lucie County. So that's our silent disaster. The United States, we respond to more than 60,000 home fires a year. The American Red Cross does. And so people don't think about that. But then we have hurricanes like Matthew last year. And when that was coming, you know, we were very geared up because it was supposed to be a devastating, you know, storm that was supposed to impact the Treasure Coast with 100-mile-an-hour winds. So we worked with St. Lucie County. We opened 6 shelters here, staffed 6 shelters at the various schools, and were able to get those folks who did not have a place to go or needed to evacuate from their mobile home or, you know, community on the ocean, and get them to safety. We had about 1,100 people in St. Lucie County, residents who came to our shelters.
As you said, there are different disasters, but right now we're just beginning our hurricane season. And people do need to be prepared. I know that you have inserts in the newspaper and lots of information out there so that they can do just that.
Right. We have this hurricane guide that we published in partnership with TC Palm, and we will make sure that there's a stack of these at the United Way office. It's got everything you need to know for preparedness, what to bring, what to pack, what to have in your home if you're going to shelter in place. And it does include a page with the St. Lucie listing of the possible shelters and the evacuation zones. So.
And there are certain things I know you should always have available. I mean, in a container, it may be a fireproof or a waterproof container, so that you can grab that container and just leave if you have to. So you don't have to start thinking about, oh my gosh, where's this, where's that, where's my insurance policies?
Correct. Insurance policies, birth certificates, any of those if you have your Social Security cards, any of those documents that you would need, and cash. You should have cash. And the other thing you should have easily at hand are your prescription meds. So that, I mean, it may be just grabbing the bottles or some sort of record in case you lose all your prescription meds. And make sure you know where those are. So if you're going to evacuate. And if you're going to stay at home, it's a whole different ballgame. You need to have, you know, to make sure what you have. And this goes over it, or you can call our office, or you can go on redcross.org and we list all of that stuff.
I know water is very important. How much water per person should you
So they
have on
say you
hand?
should have at least a gallon per person per day.
Okay.
So if you have a family of 5, you should probably look at least 15 gallons, minimum 3 days. We advise 5 days.
Yeah, you look back at what happened to us after Francis and Jean, and many who live here now in St. Lucie County, they weren't here during that disaster, those disasters. But we were. And when you look at that and how many days you had to wait, well, how many days it took the hurricane to go through and how many days you had to wait, you have to be prepared for, I would say, at least a week.
Right. The good news is, well, and Francis was a perfect example because it was an abnormal hurricane that got here and stalled. So people were you know, the winds were blowing for like 48 hours. That's not normal. It was probably even maybe more than that. But the other changes that have been made, the improvements that have been made in this county since 2004 are that all the grocery stores now have generators. The gas stations have generators. So if you can get out, you'll be able to get to the store and replace things. The challenge will be is if you're in your home and you can't get out because of trees down or whatever. So you still should be prepared. Yeah.
Let's talk about preparedness education. I know that it's so important to prepare families. And I know as a group of community agencies that United Way belongs to, called SAFER, we realize that there are many who are vulnerable, especially if you look at the elderly in the mobile home parks.
And there's different levels of different things to be prepared for. So one of our new projects that we're doing is our home fire campaign, and it's called. We're doing a special campaign in October, which is her Fire Prevention Month, called "Sound the Alarm, Save a Life." So, it'll be our signature, the Red Cross signature event, and basically our goal is to reduce deaths and injuries due to home fires by 25% over a 5-year period, and we do that by canvassing neighborhoods that are vulnerable, like you said, elderly communities, mobile home communities, going door to door, talking to the people, checking their smoke alarms. If they're not new, if they don't work, we replace them or we replace the batteries. And at the same time, we spend 5 or 10 minutes and educate them on the risks of fire. And we also include tornadoes and hurricanes, because those are the 3 big risks that we have. So we installed more than 818 in St. Lucie County last year. So smoke alarms. So that many more homes are safer.
That's wonderful. Hey, when you talk about I know you have a very small staff. So you're talking about your staff and your volunteers.
Correct. Right. We have a very small paid staff. We have a large staff when you count the volunteers. We have about 170 active volunteers in our chapter, and I think about 70 of those are St. Lucie County residents. But I have to tell you, it doesn't matter where they live, because they will go where the need is. So those volunteers are the ones that do the home fire campaign. Yes, we have a paid staff of 3, and we cover 4 counties. So we definitely rely on the volunteers, and they are our leaders. They lead these events. They don't, and we as staff support them.
Right. So if someone wants to help out and become an American Red Cross volunteer, who do they contact, and what do they experience? What kind of training?
Okay, so the easiest way to volunteer is to go on redcross.org and say, I want to volunteer. They'll ask you for your zip code. You fill out a few basic things, and that starts the process rolling. You can also call our office, which is 672-8800. Talk to somebody there about how to get started. The training that we offer for our volunteers is all free. We have a lot of training. Depends on whether you want to work in the office, whether you want to help with financial development, if you want to be a shelter worker during a hurricane, if you want to be a disaster action team member. It's all the training is done for that. We have a combination of online training, so people can take training at home at their own convenience, and we also we offer it in the classroom.
Let's talk about the military members and how you support those individuals. It's so vital, to our community, and they're such an important part of our community.
Right. So Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross in 1881 after seeing the suffering in the Civil War, and realized that the soldiers needed some support. So that the basis of the American Red Cross was from the military. And we were chartered by Congress to provide this emergency communication. So if you have a military person and you need to get that person home, you will call your local Red Cross, and we open a case. We actually talk with the medical personnel, the hospital, the funeral home, the doctor, to make sure of what's going on. We develop a message that we then transmit to the base, wherever the military woman or man is stationed, and then we deliver that message in person if we can, so they're not getting the news. And in addition to that, so that's why we're chartered by Congress. But in addition, we are doing a lot of projects for veterans and with veterans as the number of veterans grow. As a matter of fact, we just got a grant with the St. Lucie Botanical Gardens, and we're going to be doing a grow program where the veterans are going to come in and have their own plots and learn and work on that. It's just in the infancy, but we have had it approved by the National Red Cross, a grant to work on another way to help veterans, reunify into the society.
There's so much that you're doing, and we could talk forever, but we're going to now take a break, and I just want to thank you for joining us the first half of our show. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Karen.
We'll be right back.
I'm lucky. Let me help you with that. I get to do something I love. It has nothing to do with touchdowns or titles.
Everybody bring it in.
I get to play a part in the life of someone just starting out.
How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork?
I help keep kids in school.
Good.
And that's the name of the game.
My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
Welcome back to Live United. We now have another one of our funded partners, the ARC of St. Lucie County. Welcome.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
I was just saying, it seems like we were just sitting here interviewing, and it has been a while how the months just kind of meld together. And, you know, as we go along our lives, and we're very, very busy people, you kind of forget, you know, exactly when it was. But we're happy to have you back here.
Thank you. For
And I know we were chatting earlier about your the ARC and some of the new things that are going to be happening that you'll be announcing soon. But let's talk about the mission, so people out in our viewing audience really understand your mission and what you do here in St. Lucie County.
Well, to even go beyond what is written as our mission, it really makes it easier to understand that our job is to advocate for the people we serve and to provide services. And that the services is what takes our breath away every day. Our services to people in residential settings, which means group homes where the individuals live. Get up in the morning, get ready, eat breakfast, rush off to somewhere other than where you live, and they spend the day there, they come back, they have lunch and dinner, and they make dinner, and our staff are hopefully in tune to working with the individuals in their own home, that it's the individual's homes. It's not our home, and it's not the staff's home, but it's there. And that becomes very sacred, that the individuals can expect and know what's in their lives.
Let's just describe your clients to our viewing audience. What type of individual do you service?
We serve people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. Certainly, a lot of people have disabilities. I think we go beyond it. These are people that have discovered the inability to intellectualize and developmentally talk to us in their own age. It's sometimes if it's an adult who's 40 years old, maybe at an age of functioning of 4 years old, and that developmental growth becomes very slow over time. But our job is to interact with them and teach them as many skills as they can so they're less reliant on caregivers.
Right.
And that's the future. And I'll tell you, I've probably have been 35, 40 years of doing this in a host of settings, and I can't imagine having my life fulfilled more than being around folks like this and their ability to just tell the truth and about things just makes every day great. So.
Right. And the service you provide to the caregivers, the parents and guardians of the individuals you serve, I'm sure they are overwhelmed with gratitude because they have to work. And it means a lot to them that their child is learning as much as they can to be as independent as they can. And that's where you all come in.
I think we approach it like a family, and that we're all kind of in it together. And I think that's certainly if we forget something, they'll let us know. But I think we have that kind of relationship and ownership too into the process. We also quickly do an adult day program where we're just have grown a lot since the last time we're here. We're up to 100 people, and we can't take any more. So we carefully look at our admissions, and we're looking at other sites, Port St. Lucie, or even in the back of our building, we have some extra space.
What do you do during the daycare program? What is an individual, one of your clients? What does their average day look like?
So at the Adult Day program, these are with the adults. Of course, we have an after-school program as well, but throughout the Adult Day program, they work on life skills development. We've created a huge passion, or began a huge passion, for volunteering in the community. Like Jeff always says, it's the closest thing you can due to having work, and it provides them the opportunity to go and experience hands-on work skills. So we have several partnerships in the community, United Against Poverty, the Food Bank, the St. Anastasia's Clothes Closet, Rick's Garden off of US 1. So we have several places that they're able to go and volunteer willingly, and they love to go and volunteer in the community, as well as develop these skills that are very necessary for being in a workplace. And the ultimate goal would to become employed. So creating and getting these skills for employment.
Right, and you do have a sort of a job training program. We just visited the other day, very unique. Really just starting up, but it's looks like you've got it under control. And let's talk a little bit about what you offer individuals there.
As far as vocational, one, we do have the volunteering, and we also have a partnership with Indian River State College where individuals are able to go and take an actual course at the college, which is great for them. They love to be involved in the college. They feel like they are an actual student and able to go to the college. They love going around the campus. The other component, like you mentioned, we have added is what we call our lab setting. And at the lab, it's pretty much a simulated work experience. We have different areas where the individuals are able to learn skills, hands-on skills, as if they were in an actual job setting. But it's controlled, so we have staff there helping them, assisting them, prompting them as needed. So a couple of the different areas would be a restaurant setting where they're able to learn how to properly greet people, how to roll silverware. And then we have another one that would be like a hotel setting where they are able to learn how to make a bed properly, how to clean properly. So there's different little simulated work areas where they're actually able to go and do hands-on skills.
That's it's been
I know you want to jump in there.
the whole past year is working on that setting, and we not only offer it to the adults but also the children, and we're combining that with a Voc Rehab project that's going on this summer. So we're excited about that area back there. We do need to work on calling it a lab.
Yeah.
Something more creative.
That's just the name that we came up with for right now. But like you said, we also have a partnership with Division of Voc Rehab. And this summer, we have a program, and we can speak about that in a little bit when we get to the children. But we do have a program going for summer youth that is vocational oriented. So we're excited about that too. So not only do the adults get to utilize the lab, but the children get to utilize it too. So the earlier they start, the better. When they are able to learn these skills at an early age, then they're more likely to get employment as they get older. So
Yeah, I was going to jump into the after-school program, so let's get to the youth and what you offer the youth. What age group are we talking about?
The after-school program is age 5 to 22. We serve all the way up into pretty much graduation. So in St. Lucie County, the children that are getting ready to graduate, they can actually continue going into school until the age of 22, even though they may have graduated. So we like to bridge that gap, I guess you could say, and they're able to go from the age of 5 to 22. So a very wide age range, but it's a good opportunity for parents and a good support system for parents. So.
Do you carry that through the summer, that care that you give
In fact,
during the after-school
that
program?
has started this week, the early stages of our summer camp.
It's
Mostly
been-
it kicks into
alright.
gear next Monday,
Yeah.
but we're feeling
It's
it
been
now.
a very busy
4
couple
extra
weeks.
come in today, 4 extra tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
It's been a very busy couple weeks. This is one of our busiest times because we are getting ready to go into summer camp. But not only are we doing summer camp, we're doing the summer youth program. So we have a couple different things going on for youth throughout the summertime. In our summer camp, as always, we continue with the IEP, or the individual education plan, that's provided through the school board. And those IEPs just distinguish goals that each child has. So we like to continue that to reduce skill regression throughout the summer. They're also able to participate in recreational activities in the community. They go to museums, water parks, water fountains, a number of
The
different areas.
volunteerism carries over to the children also.
Yeah, and they are provided the opportunity to volunteer, but even more so in the summer youth program, which is through Division of Voc Rehab. So that program is vocational oriented, and that program is for age 15 to 21. The specifications are provided through Division of Voc Rehab. So those children that participate in that program pretty much are learning skills to be in employment. And then they're able to volunteer. They go to the lab setting.
I was going to
and-
ask that.
So it's a combination of those two things. We have a curriculum that we go through, and we have a vocational trainer and support staff that are able to help them with those hands-on skills.
And we think Voc Rehab is trying to appeal to a younger age than traditionally. And I think that's been one of the positive things and makes us get creative on teaching hands-on skills in this other setting versus we would see typical failure with our population sometimes with VR. So us having a chance to teach individual skills is a good shot at improving that.
Are you looking for more opportunities for the young adults to volunteer, or to maybe an employer to agree to employ one of your young adults?
Those would be some of the next steps
Okay.
of getting the employer down. I think group settings, enclaves is a powerful way of also looking at employment versus one-on-one, maybe a small group. Maybe a small group, we contract with a hotel, and our 2 or 3 folks would clean X amount of rooms per day. And I think it could give the workforce a very solid workforce to follow.
Do you look for volunteers? Are you in need of any, and how do you use them?
We probably always can, though we reach a point that, okay, who's going to train the person? And we look around and there's not enough folks who can spend that time with volunteers.
Because they need to be trained.
They
Right.
need to be trained. And there's also, with as much service provision as we do, we also have to be careful with wage and hour and how we use a volunteer.
Right.
Instead of, and putting them in a group home and doing the same thing as our staff, but not get paid would not be acceptable. So you have to be careful of understanding the wage and hour
And
laws.
you're always looking for donations, right?
Yes.
Well, monetary donations, but are you looking for other types of donations?
We do. We accept clothes. We accept food items. Because of our lab, there's an area where they're learning to inventory, fold clothes, hang up clothes. So we're trying to utilize a lot of our donated items to those specific reasons. Also, we're trying to teach them how to address appropriately within a work setting. So that's another training. So we really appreciate any dress clothes. Food items are good because, again, we do the inventory and teaching them how to stock shelves and inventory items. So.
Right, right. Well, you're doing some wonderful things, and I want to thank you. Our time is out. Sorry to say.
so quickly.
There's so much. I know it, as I told you, 14
That was quick.
14
yeah.
and a half minutes. It goes fast.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you for joining us on our Live United show, and thank you for all that you do in the community. And if you would like to learn more about the Arc of St. Lucie County, you can go to their website or call the number that was on the screen. I'm sure they'd be glad to hear from you. And if you need any other volunteer opportunities, just call the United Way at 464-5300. Thank you.